Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right over here, that's Tim. And this is The Second Legacy. And thank you for stopping by. This is the 1-2A show where we take the goings on. We add a little content, add some analysis, inject humor and a lovely layer of sarcasm, and send you back on your day. And this is going to be one that you can't look away, because New York City is a train wreck upon train wrecks, because now the feds are showing them up. God, you can't make this stuff up. Guys, if you're enjoying this content, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And with that, Tim, we can't escape New York.
I love the reference there.
Snake Plissken. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Somebody needs to escape New York, because
about 3 or 4 million people need to escape New York.
I mean, what a hot mess, right? So I think in yesterday's video, we talked about, or in the previous video, I should say, we talked about.
Well, it'll be airing right now, so it'll be airing this morning.
Okay, so this is the follow up to the previous video. We did talk about this and the fact that Hochul was out there talking about how she was had made all these reforms to to the justice system and all this stuff, without telling the viewer that the reforms that she made was allowing activist judges, just to release murderers onto the street on their own recognizance with no bail. And so that happened with 7 migrants that were squatting in a house, and
which made it worse.
Yeah, which made it worse. One of them had been previously arrested for attempted murder for shooting another squatter in the leg, and then we had drugs and guns and ghost guns. I mean, it was like everything all in one, and they let them all go. And
every single one of them. Every single one of them. Well, there's a tremendous update, Tim. I think you deserve some credit, because I'm pretty sure you called me the second you heard this. I think you said you were in your Jeep when you called me, and you're like, dude, listen to this.
Yes. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this. the lefties just annihilated by the other lefties. It's like the lefties are in a battle for, because we're in an election year. It's like, oh man, it's like one leftist trying to clean up the mess of another leftist, because they're trying to preserve their ability to win in an election year. It's just insanity.
It's absolutely, that's the best word ever. So here's the memory lane. If you guys missed those other 2 videos, I'm going to catch you up really, really quickly. Here's the actual title of the article we covered in the video that aired that Tim was just talking about. This is number 1. Group of gun-toting migrant squatters busted in Bronx basement apartments with weapons and drug charges. That was on April 1st. Okay, so the drugs in question, as Tim was just mentioning, were ketamine and ketamine-laced cocaine. They had ghost guns, sanctuary cities, and squatting. It's like the worst thing you could ever do, and they're back on the street within 10 hours, right? So now, this is what we were talking about when the police officer died from the felons who had been arrested 14 and 21 times. This is what Hochul said, and this is a much more condensed version. This is number 2.
Understandably, there's anger about how these individuals who commit crimes over and over are back out on the streets again.
I know how. Pick me. It's like, because of your reform, sweetheart, you're putting them back out on the streets under your directive, under your policies, under your politics. You're the one putting them back out on the streets. But look at her play. Yeah. This is the game that far left lunatics play. They create a huge mess, and then they blame conservatives. They blame this person, but they never blame themselves or their policies.
No. You can't do that. That would be uncomfy. That would require self-reflection and some sort of ownership of your own horrible mistakes. But let's expect that won't be happening. Okay, so now let's do clip number 3 to really fine-tune this point, and then we'll show you how the feds come in, and it's just, go, please.
That's one of the reasons we worked hard with the legislature last year to change the bail laws so the judges have more discretion. And there's a lot of complicated factors here, but I totally understand the outrage of the family. I do, and we're working hard to keep crime down.
We changed the laws. We tried to reform them to stop this by putting the criminals back out on the street is the reform they made. They're giving activist judges great latitude just to let everybody go on their own recognizance.
There's discretion.
You killed 60 people? Okay, you promised to be in court next weekend? Oh, okay. You can go home on your own recognizance. Next.
You can go. Yeah. You can go. Right, exactly. But to their own discretion, remember that, beautiful people, the Second Legacy. To their own discretion, and there's a lot of complicated factors. Well, let's just jump right into this really quickly. It brings us to the update that Tim called me about. This is number 4. Feds bust 3 migrants after raiding New York City home of gun-toting, drug-dealing squatters just a day after the Post reports on Bronx chaos. ICE had to raid them after New York City let them go because ICE knew where they were going to be because they published the details when they released them.
Yeah. They got 3 of the 7. I heard some other organization picked up 3 of the 7 too. So 6 of the 7 were picked up, and then 1 is on the lam. So,
wait, so the one, this is a payoff at the end. That's an Easter egg. I've got an answer for that too at the very end. Okay, so let's walk through this because I guarantee you're going to love that part. So this is number 5. So the federal agents, again, this is ICE, right? The federal agents arrested 3 people during a Wednesday raid at a Bronx home of a group of gun-toting, drug-dealing migrant squatters. I love they keep on putting
gun-toting migrant squatters.
In a gun control state, by the way. Just throw that out there. As immigration authorities moved to deport one of the crew busted at the troublesome house, the raid by Homeland Security came a day after the Post reported on chaos they brought through a multifamily dwelling, ending with the 8 migrants busted in gun and drug charges last week, of which they were all let go.
So now we got ICE and Homeland Security swooping in to clean up this mess in an election year. And keep in mind, these 2 organizations are part of the problem, right? Because they're under the direction of Joe Biden, who's allowing them to surge across the border. They don't want to do they don't want to do anything to stop this either, but because this made a headline, now they got to do something. They got to show that they're doing something. And so they run out and they arrest them again at the federal level. Oh my gosh, man.
It's so
I don't know.
Don't you feel better? You feel better.
Dude, it's so funny. And if you don't try to look at the bigger picture, if you just read this headline and move on, it's not going to dawn on you what's actually happening here. You have a bunch of far left lunatics setting, murderous criminals free under bail reform laws that they passed. And then the feds have to come in an election year and arrest them all because we can't just let this happen. And it's this huge cluster going on. This smacks of New Mexico. I mean, this is funny. This is like,
kind of
well, seriously, like there you had the governor getting smacked down by the feds because of the stupid stuff she was doing it was kind of going against the grain in an election year. It's just so funny, man.
Right.
How this is all playing out.
Well, speaking of pictures, I have one for you. Okay, so we're going to throw this up. This is number 7.
Ugh.
So this is what was in the house that New York City arrested these 8 and then let them go again. Now, you are absolutely correct. And there's an angle of this to where the feds were involved because it's an election year and there's absolutely broader political implications, left versus right, woke versus conservative. Absolutely. But just on the very base level, Hochul has Hochul has raged on a campaign against the Second Amendment, saying that guns were the cause of all crime in the entire world. And if only we could have common sense gun laws, we could prevent all this crime. The New York City Police Department catches this by people who are not in the country legally, who are distributing drugs illegally with guns that they consider ghost guns, all from illegal citizens, and they release them.
All right, so we got to talk about this because I picked up on this, and you just said it, ghost gun. Looking at this image, point to the ghost gun. Now, in the comments...
Well, you can't see it. It's the translucent
it's the
one.
Scary missing one. These are zombie guns. These are worse.
Yes.
And so, in the comments, let us know what your understanding of a ghost gun is. Because my understanding of a ghost gun is a gun that is manufactured in such a way that the feds have no idea that it exists, i.e. Polymer 80 guns, right? That, in my mind, is what a ghost gun is. But no, Braden clued me in because I can't think as dumb as a leftist sometimes. And he's like, oh, no. If you just grind the serial number off, the gun grabbers call those ghost guns too. No, that's a defaced gun. 100%. It was manufactured. The feds know it exists. It's on a register somewhere, and you ground it off. Every gun on the planet can have its serial number ground off. So that means... Exactly. Under that definition, every single gun in existence is a ghost gun or potentially a ghost gun.
Correct. Or if you change one of the letters, or if you if you deface it in any way, which is a federal crime, by the way. That's the reason it's a federal crime. So if you guys are not up on this and you don't follow this as tightly, they have literally put out releases that say anything without a serial number is a ghost gun. The gun controllers have, gun politicians have, or gun controlling politicians have. The reason that that's so important is because it's no longer about ghost guns, it's about criminal activity, but they never tell you a defaced firearm because that goes into the whole nuance between defaced firearm versus ghost gun versus no serial versus privately made firearm. They can't get into the details, Tim.
Oh, they just got to quit calling them ghost guns and call them zombie guns, because once they were alive, now they're dead and missing. Right. This is their zombie gun. I'm helping them here. It's because, wow. And because I looked at this picture, I'm like, okay, got a CZ. We have like a 2011 looking 1911, have a CSX looking Smith & Wesson pistol, a little Glock, and all the extendo mags. But I didn't see a ghost gun. And that's because...
Well, that's because it's invisible.
Yeah, it's invisible. These are zombie guns. They had their serial numbers ground off, and now they're once alive, now they're dead. All right.
Exactly. Once alive, they've been reanimated. But, just to wrap the fine point on this, because I want to keep this up here, if we go through this image, it speaks so much more if you just look at what they've said in the past, against gun rights and against all the different criminal elements that they claim, and then you look at what they just released. So if you're going down this image, these 4 guns were in possession of illegal migrants. They were under sanctuary city policies. They do not have the rights in this nation to have any of those. Illegal. In New York City, all illegal, because they all have extended magazines. The 2 extended magazines down there, illegal.
Well, we do have a recent judge's decision that illegal immigrants can be in possession of firearms legally under the Second Amendment.
Well, yes, that is true.
So,
that was actually an Obama appointed judge, I believe.
It was all politics. We covered that in a past video. But yeah.
And then don't forget the drugs too. The drugs in a burner phone.
Are those ghost drugs or those real drugs? I don't know.
No, those are real drugs. Those are very real. There is no ghost element to those.
All right. What do you call fentanyl laced drugs? You think you're getting this drug, but it's laced with fentanyl. Is that a zombie drug? I'm trying to apply the logic across the board here. I'm sorry.
That's called a sapriste. That's what that's called.
That's a la carte drug dealing. So
a la carte. So 6 of those 8 migrants that were having those items on them were released without bail, and then the other 2 were released on bail. The guns and the drugs that were found.
Yeah.
That is what they're telling you is perfectly fine to be released under discretion of the judges.
Yeah. And I can guarantee you, if I were in New York City, being an American citizen and a resident of the state of Indiana, and I was found squatting in a home in New York with this type of firepower, I would be put in prison for the rest of my life, ghost guns or not.
I'm pretty sure it's a year per round,
it's
right? It's
ridiculously expensive in terms of how much time you're going to spend in prison in that state, depending on what you get caught with. So with the magazines and the guns and all the stuff, there's a lot of jail time sitting here for American citizens. Now, illegals in possession of this stuff, well, not so much.
Totally You're out.
Back on your own recognizance.
Piece of cake, baby. So if you guys aren't picking up what we're trying to lay down here, the obvious hypocrisy of these gun controlling leftists is on full display.
There's no political agenda here, folks.
No,
Nothing to see here. Not at all. Baghdad Bob.
So I'm going to give you a choice. Exactly. I'm going to give you a choice to wrap this video up. I can either tell you the payoff of the final guy who got arrested, who escaped ICE real quickly, or I can give you Trump first. What do you want first?
Oh, we're in election year. Let's do Trump.
All right. Well, this speaks to something that you just said that was incredibly important. Okay. The things that we focus on in our 2A fight, and when we started this channel, Second Legacy was meant to be a vehicle to bring the fight of the 2A into the politics broad and incorporate these topics together because they are all interlinked. We've never actually said that openly, but that is the whole point. When we were formulating this idea, the idea was to blend these things together because they're all easily blended with a crossover, right? That's where this comes in. Trump is about to seize on this exact same thing on a national political scale on something that we've been hitting on forever. Listen to what he says, and you tell me if there's at least correlation to what we just discussed. This is number 8.
In addition, I will take aggressive action to end radical Democrat lunacy known as squatters' rights. They want to squat into your house. There's now an epidemic of illegal squatters throughout our country. They're trying to steal American homes by exploiting Marxist laws in Democrat-run cities. I mean, they're actually going into a house and you can't get them out. That's in Democrat run. That doesn't, it's not working in Republican run cities. That's why, as president, I will establish a federal task force to use every authority that we have at our disposal to end squatting in America. Squatting's a big deal. It sounds like a little bit of a weird topic, but it's not. It's a very bad thing. When you go home and there's somebody in your house and they won't get out, and you bring the law enforcement and the law enforcement says, I can't do anything. If your constitutional rights have been violated, we will defend you. If you have illegal aliens invading your home, we will deport you. We will not allow your homes to be taken from you in any way, shape, or form. We will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs, cities, and towns.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yep.
God.
To me, it's so hard to wrap my mind around anybody defending the squatting thing. Like, where in the world can you come up with a justification for saying, well, there's nothing we can really do. That person's in your house. We can't really remove them. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's your problem, not our problem. And they can stay. If you do anything to get them out of your house, we're going to charge you with a crime.
Mm-hmm.
How? On
where it came
what
from?
plane of reality is this even something we should be talking about? I mean, common sense would dictate that you own the property. You can prove you own the property. The deed is in your name, and there's somebody you don't know in your house, and they'll take legal action against you if you try to get them out, and law enforcement is powerless to remove them. You can't just go in and say, I'm trespassing you, and then the police take you off the property. That's how it works in normal America.
Right, but do you know the origin of this idea?
No. Stupidity.
It actually came, well, of course, that's a very key component of the recipe. It actually came from Central and Western Europe. That this is a main thing. This is actually a indoctrinated part of the governmental system in those Western democracies in Central and mid to Western Europe. Like Denmark, France, like the Scandinavians, they all do this.
So this is this is the Bernie Sanders effect, right? This is it's not your house, it's our house. It's straight up Marxism, right? You don't really truly own anything, and it's not yours, it's ours. Collectivism. Right. Yeah. Well, on that note,
that's exactly what it is.
I just want to say before we close the segment, communism sucks. Thank you for watching Second Legacy. We'll talk to you guys soon.